So the good news is I am alive. I'm sorry for not posting for the last couple of weeks, but oh my goodness, life has been so incredibly busy, but also exciting as I've been settling here in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, in my new post and all of the work that goes with it. Just yesterday, I posted on Twitter, on X, how wonderful it's been to find my feet at the Free University in the Faculty of Religion and Theology, and to be welcomed and cared for by good colleagues at the faculty. And I must say, I'm beginning to feel that I belong, and that I know there's good work to do here, and I found such amazing people to work with, and I'm particularly grateful to be able to do what I'm doing. So let me give you a little bit of an update. Some of it will be about academic work, teaching, supervision, publications, speaking engagements, and then also towards the end some personal family stuff, so you can tune out whenever you're not interested. But thanks for your patience in waiting for these videos. I hope to get back to a more regular posting schedule as soon as I can. So first of all, I'm in our new apartment. If it sounds a bit echoey, there's not much furniture. I moved out of the beautiful temporary accommodation where I was staying in Oud-Rustenburg in the kingdom of Baambrugge. I jokingly say Baambrugge, which is about 15 kilometers from the center of Amsterdam, into a very lovely small apartment, a house where Megan and Liam will join me in June this year. So I can't wait for that. But yeah, getting a house in the Netherlands is not an easy thing. And for those who've made that transition, I'm so glad for you. And for those who are still to make it, patience and courage and strength, and don't give up. You can work it out. So we've got a beautiful space here. And as I say, Megan and Liam will join me in June. Courtney is staying in South Africa. She's busy finishing her master's thesis. And so our hearts are going to be broken to be without her. But she's 24 years old and an adult, and so her life is unfolding in beautiful ways back in Cape Town. So some of the big things that have happened at work. First of all, my tenure and my contract were finalized at the Free University, Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. So I'm professor of public theology there. And normally in the Netherlands, you're on probation for a year before your contract gets formalized. And I was very grateful that mine was formalized 2 months ago or so. And that gives a great deal of security as the family moves over here to the Netherlands. And as I say, I found such wonderful colleagues participating in incredible research opportunities. So the Extreme Beliefs group with Rick Peels. I'm part of the Cities of God group, which is doing more empirical, qualitative, quantitative research on religion in cities with Miranda Claver and Stefan Paas. Part of the Evangelical and Reformed Theologies group as a systematic theologian, where I recently presented in our doctoral conference a paper on anthropology in an age of identity politics, so theological anthropology. And that's with Gijsbert van der Brink and Henk van der Belt and other colleagues. I'm also part, because of my New Testament studies, of the contextual biblical interpretation and New Testament studies research groups, which I attend most often on a Friday afternoon, 2 or 3 times a month, or twice a month probably, attend those meetings. And then, there have been other things as well. I spoke in the academia and activism group, particularly given some of the work that I've done on racism and white work, what white persons need to do and be aware of in terms of our privilege in academic settings, but in the world in general. And also at Oud-Rustenburg, where we have meals and lectures. I recently spoke on the work that I've been doing on the politics of forgiveness. Now, teaching. It's been great to get back into the classroom again. This period, so in the Netherlands, we have 6 periods instead of 2 terms and 4 semesters. In this period, I've been teaching an introduction to dogmatics, what in South Africa we would have called an introduction to systematic theology. And then I've also been teaching an advanced course in contemporary theology, and that's been absolutely fascinating. Both of these courses have been great with students who read well, read carefully, come to class well prepared, and we have some deep and rich discussions. I've also taught on a number of other courses. I've taught some introduction to public theology for the Center for Migration and Theology Studies, and then a course on peace, trauma, and religion at the Amsterdam University College. That's been a great group, teaching with my colleague Surgeon Schremek. And then in terms of supervision, oh my goodness, I arrived here and I already have a nice full supervision load. In fact, my first PhD student from the Free University is about to defend his PhD, Chad, and he worked on issues of the ways in which evangelical churches in Europe, and particularly looked at a church in Amsterdam, deal with issues of race and racism. And he wrote a really great piece of work there. And I have another student, Leah, who's from Indonesia, who's just about to submit her PhD on lived religion and human trafficking. So a really great study there. But I'm supervising a number of PhD students, some Methodists, some people working in public theology, in political theology, a number of folks who are working in biblical studies, in New Testament studies, and really enjoying my supervision work. I've spoken at a couple of conferences. So I think the last post on the channel was when I was on my way to Berlin, to the Berlin Institute for Public Theology, where we had a peace ethics conference. But as I say, I also delivered a paper in the doctoral seminar of the Free University on anthropology in an age of identity politics. I spoke at the Center for Migration Studies on the roles and responsibilities of Christians in a late secular democracy, the roles and responsibilities in public life. Then some other exciting news was that I was asked to join the Anglican Methodist Communion dialogues around mutual recognition and unity between the global Anglican Communion and the Methodist churches around the world. And so I had the first of those meetings last week. Unfortunately, because I couldn't get a visa in time for the UK, having a South African passport is a bit of a challenge. You need a visa to go everywhere. I did eventually get a short stay visa for the UK because I'll be speaking at the Oxford Institute in Oxford in August, but the visa was only valid from next month. So I participated in the first round of discussions between Anglicans and Methodists this week online. Then publications. Oh my goodness, there's been a whole flood of things that have come through. The first one is that my darling wife Megan and I published an article together called Done First and Done Rightly. And it's an article that looks at the decolonization of higher education and traces it back to the ways in which primary education in South Africa needs to begin to think about languages, cultures, religious and social perspectives, lived experiences of South African children, and decolonizing some of what we do at that stage, so that by the time it gets to secondary school, to high school, and into higher education, you're not beginning with decolonial debates only at the high school level. And of course, Megan has a PhD in education policy studies, so we wrote that one together. Then I have an article or a chapter in a book which is coming out now, edited by Chantal Weber and Bart Norheim, and it's Teaching in Times of Crisis. And there I did a critical autoethnography, looking at my own teaching philosophy, and the chapter is entitled Teaching from the Margins, and looking specifically at how one can engage in systematic theology in a context of a commitment to justice. So looking at how my own experience as a Methodist minister, working in the Methodist Church in South Africa, being involved in work around justice, reconciliation, anti-racism, dealing with colonialism and apartheid has informed my work. Then I had a chapter published in a book, which was a book that was done by Hannes Knutzer, of a group of theologians from Southern Africa, looking at their sense of vocation when it comes to theological education, and also for some of us speaking about our own faith development in faith relationships. And I wrote in that book a little bit about how I view my role as an educator, how I was formed in that, and that was quite a nice thing to reflect upon, to see what the currents and ideas and moments were in my life that shaped me. Then something related to that, I submitted a sermon that was published in a book of sermons on lament, and the sermon focused on from powerlessness to power, looking at the ways in which our faith lives can deal with issues of dispossession, and how being in partnership with the kind of God who empowers from below, the kind of Savior like Jesus, who is a person with and for and through other persons, can change us. Then I had a chapter published in a textbook, a Van Schreik textbook, with my colleague Professor Kurt April on spirituality, religion and workplace diversity. So looking at the ways in which people bring their spiritualities, their religious convictions, sometimes even secular convictions, and diversity into the world of work, and what we should do in order to accommodate that. Then two last things to mention. A very important article on Ukutwasa in the Methodist Church of Southern Africa was published in a special edition of ISIT, the journal, which I was a co-editor of at that stage, together with Naran Davids and Wolfram Weiser. And there we were looking particularly at interreligious dialogue and encounter. And I was looking at how recent decolonial, post-colonial debates and discussions, Africanization in Southern African Methodism, is asking questions about the pre-Christian religious traditions and African indigenous religious traditions in relation to Southern African Methodism, and looking particularly at how colonialism seemed to want to demonize to other what African Christians or African religious persons have believed, and the current debates around Ukutwasa, around African traditional faith healers, and how if a person feels called in an African idiom to work for healing and wholeness in the continuum of humanity and the rest of the cosmos, how do you do that? Should you be excluded from Christianity and from ministry in particular, or as African Christians should we work to think about how we incorporate aspects of this in our lives? And then the final one was a chapter on the stolen Bible and the stolen land, where I was looking at a decolonial perspective on the teaching and learning of biblical studies in African institutions. So I'll put links to all of these in the show notes if you're interested in any of them. Remember, you can always find all of my work on my academic profile at the Free University. You just search for vu.nl, that's the Vrije Universiteit.nl, Netherlands, and search for Dion Foster profile or Vrije Universiteit Dion Foster. Or you can find my stuff on ResearchGate or academia.edu. Or on the ORCID ID. Then personal things. So I must say it's been a wonderful and blessed time to be finding my feet here. It hasn't been without its challenges. There've been some really big and significant obstacles that we've had to overcome. Moving from South Africa to the Netherlands, as one can anticipate, there's a lot that needs to take place. And I must say, I'm so grateful for colleagues and friends and family who've helped us along the way. And it seems most things are falling into place. I have my ID card and my driver's license, and got my TB clearance and all the things that need to happen. And we managed to get the final documents necessary for Megan and Liam this week submitted. So we are hoping that their visas will be approved soon. And so, as I say, Megan and Liam will join me on the 27th of June. And and Courtney, we are hoping that Courtney and her partner Darren will come and join us later in the year, at least for a visit. So other than that, I continue to run and cycle regularly. I must say Baanbrugge and Amsterdam is absolutely beautiful. And if I look out the window behind me here, I can see it's as the Dutch would say, April doen wat hy wil. it's not quite fully spring yet. We've had some amazing days. I cycled out to Kierkenhof to see the tulips not long ago. And on an incredibly stormy, blustery day, when Liam rode his first Cape Town cycle to 110 kilometers in Cape Town, I was to do my 21st. I went for a 110 kilometer cycle. And oh my goodness, on that day it was a little bit crazy. So maybe the last thing I can mention is that tomorrow I head off to Cape Town to go and help to get rid of some of our stuff, give things away, pack things, sell things that we need to, and help Migi to prepare for the move here. So do think of us. And I'll be away for Koningsdag, King's Day here in the Netherlands. And there's a short little break after that where here in the Netherlands and throughout Europe, persons commemorate the end of the Second World War, the Second Great War. And so I'll be in South Africa for that. And of course, celebrating the 30th anniversary of South Africa's entry into democracy on the 27th of April 1994. So this year marks 30 years, and so much has been achieved for which many of us are grateful, but so much still needs to be done. So thanks for watching and for sitting through this little life update, and thanks for keeping the channel in your mind. Please stick around, and I hope you haven't given up on the channel, but I hope to be able to add some interesting things. I have a few interesting trips. I'm going to Palermo when I get back. I'll be in Berlin for my friend Torsten Meyreis at the Humboldt University. Some things there, and we'll also be, as I mentioned, at Cambridge and at the Oxford Institute in Oxford, Cambridge, for some majority world conversations around Methodism and decolonization, and at the Oxford Institute participating in the New Testament Studies group around New Testament ethics and peace, particularly given what's happening in Palestine and Gaza and Israel and in the Ukraine at the moment. So thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, and by all means drop me a note in the comments below, whether this is on Facebook or on YouTube. And you can contact me on X, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Threads @DigitalDion, or on my website dionfoster.com, or Digital Dion on YouTube. So thanks for watching.